So in the last session, in the demo session, in the introduction session, we have understood how Snowflake internally works. What is the basically why we call it as a cloud data warehouse? What is SaaS? Okay, software as service. What services Snowflake takes from the cloud? What all the clouds are supported in Snowflake? Okay, we have seen the architecture of the Snowflake. What are all the three layers of architecture we have in Snowflake? Along with that, we have seen how to create the free trial account, right? So hope you guys have opened created your free trial account. If not, you can create it today. Today we'll start from the very first session, and that will be based on the database, schema, and tables. Okay, database, schema, and table. So we all know what is database, what is schema, what is table, but in Snowflake they are categorized into different way. So that's the reason we need to we need to understand that what exactly the categorization means, and along with that we have to understand that which type of object what to use. Otherwise you will be unwantedly going to expense more money for your project, because in Snowflake, no, what is, because it's the SaaS product, software as a service product. So you are taking the softwares, or simply you are taking the services from the other vendors or other cloud service providers, and for that reason you have to pay that amount to them. And whatever amount you will be paying, so that depends on how much data you are storing, how much computing you are utilizing. So we'll come to that point later. As of now, just understand that basically these are all the three object, and this three object is categorized into different way, and we will be trying to identify what are all the different category, what is the difference between those category, and when to use which categories of item. So that is what we will be trying to understand. Now, first of all, what is database? Database is nothing but it is an account level object. We in Snowflake we call it as an account level object. Remember one thing, there is a hierarchy. What is that hierarchy? The topmost hierarchy is organization. Topmost hierarchy is organization. Now inside an organization we have multiple accounts, and so basically let's say you are working for an XYZ company. Now company is on the top level, that is the organization. Now inside the organization we have different project. Each project have separate Snowflake accounts. So that's the reason I said organization can have one or multiple Snowflake accounts. This is accounts is nothing but Snowflake account. So let's say you have an organization. Inside that organization, different projects are running, different clients are there. Each project, each client is having a separate Snowflake account. So that's the reason we can say an organization can have one or multiple Snowflake account. Each account can have one or multiple databases. These are all the databases. Initially, whenever you open a Snowflake trial account, you will be getting this database, you will be getting this database, and you will be getting this database. These remaining four I created actually. So each and every Snowflake account, for an example, this is a Snowflake account. This Snowflake account can have one or multiple databases. So that means database, actually that is the reason we say database as the account level object, because database will be created inside an account. Accounts will be created inside an organization. Okay. So this is the hierarchy actually. So that's the reason this database we call as an account level object, account level object. Okay. Now inside the database, whenever I will open a database, let's say I opened a database, I will be getting one or multiple schemas. Okay. If you open the database, you will be getting schemas. If you open the database, you will be getting schemas. Okay. One or multiple schemas, right? So that means schemas are created inside the database. Okay. So that's the reason this schema we call as a database level object, database level object. Okay. And table, inside the schema, you see, if I open, this is a public schema. If I open a schema, I will be getting tables, views, and other objects. Okay. So that is what the hierarchy. So table can be created inside the schema. We call it as a schema level object, or sometimes we call it as a database level object also, because anyway it is creating inside the database. So that is the different definition of this three object. Okay. So table we create. So hierarchy is like that way: organization, okay, then accounts, okay, then database, then schema, then table. Okay. So we'll discuss about this account organization later classes, in the advanced classes. So as of now, we'll discuss about database. So database is an account level object, schema is the database level object, and table is schema level object. Okay. Now, in the database, this is the hierarchy. Database, we will create the database. Inside the database, we have to create the schema, and inside the schema, we have to create the table. And table actually is the container of data. Our actual data will be organized in a table. Now, table will be created inside the schema, and schema will be created inside the database. Okay. Now, database, schema, and table are categorized. What is the different category of the database, schema, and table? So database is of two type. One is permanent type of database. Another one is transient type of database. One is permanent type of database. Another one is transient type of database. Schema also of two type. One is permanent type of schema. Another one is transient type of schema. Table is of three type. One is permanent type of table. Second one is transient type of table, and third one is temporary type of table. So database, schema, and table are categorized in this way. Database can be of two type: permanent database, transient database. Schema can be of two type: permanent schema, transient schema. And table can be of three type: permanent, transient, and temporary. Now we will understand what is the difference between these three category. To understand the difference between these three category, we need to understand what is data protection mechanism in Snowflake. Data protection mechanism in Snowflake. Data protection mechanism in the sense that means how Snowflake protecting your data, so that you should not be losing your data. Okay. Let's say I'm giving you a simple example. Let's say you are a fresher candidate, you join to an organization, and because whenever we are in the fresher level, we do lot of mistakes, right? Even now also we do lot of mistakes, right? Mistakes is the part of our basically daily activities, so we'll always try to not to do the mistake, but still we do, right? For an example, let's say you have a parameter table in your production database. Let's say you have a table called organization underscore parameter table. You have a parameter table in your database, and in that parameter, lot of parameters. Like, see, whenever we do any live organization level activity, we don't do any hard coded process, right? We always do the basically parameterized. We always make our program, our code as a parameterized, right? So for that reason, we set up some parameter in the table. We have some configuration table, and let's say so let's say this is the parameter table. Now in that parameter table, let's say some of the, let's say you just try to update some parameter value. So what you did, you written update this one table, this set, let's say value. There was a column called value, and value is equal to, you made some value as a, let's say, dummy, but you forgot. So you should be writing a where clause, but let's say you forgot to write the where clause, and this is what you executed by mistake. It is not intentionally. By mistake you did this execution. Now what happened? This entire value of this table got changed to dummy. Now this is very difficult to identify. Let's say here 1 million record was there. The entire organizations, all the projects under the organization are using this table. This is a very much master table, and you updated this record, and by mistake you have updated all the values to dummy. Now you, before the updation, you did this update in the production environment, and before the updation you didn't have any backup of this table. Before the updation you didn't have any backup of the table. Now bringing the table to the earlier state is not possible for you, right? Because this is where you stuck. So you updated all the record. Now what, how will you bring that old versions of the record? So here Snowflake is having two concepts. One is time travel, okay? Another one is fail safe. Fail safe. Sorry. Another one is time travel. Another one is fail safe. Okay. Now by using time travel, what you can do, you can go to history and you can retrieve the old version of the table. For an example, let's say you have executed this update statement at 9 o'clock in the morning. So what you can do, you can utilize the time travel features, and you can, before 9 o'clock, what was the table that you can retrieve from history by using this time travel features. Because it is protecting your data, that's the reason we call it as a data protection mechanism of Snowflake. Now, how this is gonna be possible? Because let's say whatever changes we make on the table, let's say for an example, on the 1st of October, I had a sales table and there I had 100 records. Okay. Now let's say on the 2nd of October, what I did, I deleted 30 records from the table. Right now I have 70 records in the table. Now, let's say on the 3rd of October, you realize that whatever record you deleted, that record is not supposed to be deleted. Now, this record you deleted, how will you get it back? So, you can use this time travel features. Now, what exactly Snowflake is doing so that you are utilizing these features? Whatever record you are deleting, or let's say whatever record you are updating, Snowflake are not removing those records from the storage permanently. Okay, let's say you deleted 30 records from the storage. Let's say 30 records you deleted from the storage. Snowflake will not delete this 30 record from the storage permanently. Let's say you deleted this 30 records from the sales table. Snowflake will not delete this 30 record from the sales table permanently. What Snowflake will do, Snowflake will keep this 30 record in the storage as a time travel data, so that in future, if you need, you can utilize that data, or you can bring that data back to life. Okay, so for that reason, definitely they will charge, Snowflake will charge some extra storage, because this record, every record, so whatever record you are keep on updating in the table, whatever record you are keep on deleting in the table, Snowflake will not delete those record permanently from the storage immediately. No, it will hold this record in the storage for some certain period of time. Okay, and after completing that time, they will remove the record from the storage. Okay, these features we called as a time travel features. Okay, if your table, database, or schema is permanent type of object, like your database is permanent, your schema is permanent, or let's say your table is permanent, whatever it is, for the permanent object, this time travel features is implemented maximum for 90 days. That means the day you made the changes, let's say on the 2nd of October, you 30 records you deleted from the table. So from 2nd of October, these 30 records will not be deleted from the table. It will be there. Sorry, it will not be, it will deleted from the table, but it will not delete from the storage permanently. These 30 records will be there in the storage for next 90 days. Okay, for next 90 days. Okay, so this 30 records Snowflake will keep in your storage for next 90 days because your time travel period is supported for 90 days for the permanent object. If the sales table is the permanent object, then from the 2nd of October till next 90 days, Snowflake will be holding this record in the storage as a time travel data. Once this 90 days is over, then this 30 record will be moved to the fail-safe zone. Once this 30 record is over, once this 90 days is over, then Snowflake will move this 30 record from the time travel zone, from the storage to the fail-safe zone. Okay, and it will be there for 7 days. For 7 days. This is for the permanent object. If your database, table, schema, these are all permanent object, then basically your time travel period is supported maximum for 90 days. You can reduce it, like you can make it 10 days, 20 days, 30 days, whatever you want. But 90 days is maximum, which is supported. Okay, for the permanent object. And fail-safe zone is supported 7 days for the permanent object. Maximum. Maximum 7 days supported. Or maximum means this is the fixed element. 90 days time travel period is not a fixed element. 90 days time travel period is basically it is a like you can reduce it, but you cannot go more than 90 days, but you can reduce it. But failsafe 7 days is fixed. Okay, so that is what the time travel period. Now if the sales table is the permanent sales table, then 90 days data protection is provided. But if it is a transient sales table, then only 1 day. Only 1 day. Similarly, if it is a temporary table, then also only 1 day. Okay. So 1 day means if you have made the changes on the 2nd of October, then simply you have to basically retrieve the data till 3rd of October, not more than that. Okay, so that is what the difference, right? So for the transient object, this time travel is supported only for 1 day. So it's a very simple. Let's say if you make any changes today, then from today next 90 days you are secured. So if whatever changes you made today, that you can retrieve, or you can say that you can restore till next 90 days. If it is a permanent object, whatever changes you made tomorrow, then from tomorrow next 90 days. Whatever changes you made yesterday, from yesterday next 90 days. That is how. If it is a transient or temporary object, then whatever changes you made today, then till tomorrow, not more than that. Your data is secured till tomorrow because it is supported only 1 day time travel period. So only till tomorrow. Okay. After day after tomorrow, you lost your data. That means you are not able to retrieve. So if this table is the permanent table, then and you have set to 90 days for the table as a time travel period, then whenever you made the changes from that day till next 90 days, anytime you are free and you are relaxed, anytime you can retrieve this data from the history. Okay, but if it is a transient table, then only you will be having 1 day in your hand to retrieve. If that 1 day is over, then your data is lost. Okay. Because for transient object and for temporary object, fail-safe zone is not implemented. Fail-safe zone is not implemented. Okay. For transient object and for temporary object, fail-safe zone is not implemented. Only time travel is implemented. That is only for 1 day. So now you can understand permanent object is providing you data security for total 97 days. Permanent object is providing you the data security for total 97 days, where transient and temporary object is providing the data security till 1 day only. Okay. Transient and temporary object is providing the data security till 1 day only. And another difference between transient and temporary is temporary object, temporary table, temporary database schema not possible. Temporary table is session based table. Temporary table is session based table. That means If the temporary table you created in one session, that will not be reflected to other session. That means you cannot reflect that temporary table, or simply you can say like you cannot have the existence of the temporary table to other session. So that is how it works. Okay. So temporary table is the session based table. So this is the difference between these three category. Okay. And I'll tell you one more thing. Remember one thing, permanent object providing you high security because it is holding your lost data. That means it is holding your deleted or updated data for the longer time. And for that reason, it will be charging you also more. Simple equation, like I have a car. I don't have the parking. I want to keep my car to your garage. You told me, okay, I will keep it, but it will be charge me 100 rupees per day. So if I keep my car in your garage for one day, you charge me 100 rupees. But if I keep my car in your garage for 20 days, you are not gonna be charging me 100 rupees. You will be charging me more, right? So you will be charging me 2000 rupees. Similarly, here also, the 30 records, whatever I deleted from the table, if that 30 records I am keeping in my storage, because I don't know in future I am gonna use that particular data or not, because all the deleted data, all the updated data is not going to be restored or not going to be utilized, right? So in future I don't know like whether I'm going to use that data or not, but still either you are using or not doesn't matter. Snowflake always keep your data for whatever time travel period you mentioned. For that period it will always hold your data, right? So that is the reason. So Snowflake is holding your data. It is saving you from the data loss. Definitely it will charge you for those data whatever it is holding for some period of time, right? So that is the reason permanent object is providing you high security, definitely, but at the same time it will be charging you more storage as well. So that also you have to remember. So permanent object, if you create, your storage charges will be more rather than the transient object or temporary object, because transient object is protecting your data only for one day. That means your deleted record, your updated record, it is holding only for one day, not more than that. So definitely it will charge you one day storage. But where that permanent object is going to be going to calculate for 90 days. If you have kept the time travel period as a 30 days, then it will be charging you for 30 days, 20 days, 10 days, 5 days, whatever you kept. So that is the reason permanent object is costly object, where transient or temporary object does not cost you more. Okay, so that is what you remember to remember. Permanent object you mostly we will be using in the production environment, where basically we don't have the what I can say, like we don't need to worry about the data protection, because permanent object protects your data. We need the more protection. So in those cases we will be using the permanent object. But transient object mostly we use the day one QA environment. Temporary object we use whenever we need to basically calculate something or holding the data for some temporary reason. So those cases we will be using the temporary object. So that is how it works. Okay. Now see how basically we will be creating. Okay, another thing I'll tell you. Let's say if you have created a transient database, inside a transient database, you can create only the transient schema. You cannot create permanent object inside the transient object. That means if your database is transient, you cannot create a permanent schema inside the transient database. Okay. Similarly, if you have created a transient schema, you cannot create permanent table inside a transient schema. So simple equation, permanent object cannot be created inside a transient object. Okay, permanent object cannot be created inside a transient object. But if your database is permanent, you can create both type of object. If your schema is permanent, you can create all type of objects. So that is how it works. Okay. So let me go here. I'll show you. First of all, any question till now? Drop database. Demo DB.
Yes. So means I don't know whether it will be covered later.
Yeah.
Is there any backup mechanism? Because the database generally we take daily or weekly or monthly backups of the database. So
Yes.
is it automatic over here, or we have to do it separately manually?
No, no, it is not automatic, but data backup, yes, definitely. Data backup mechanism also will be covered in the in this course, and we will be using the clone features, zero copy clone features to create the backup of your existing object. Okay, zero copy clone, whatever backup you usually take for the traditional data warehouses, those we will not follow here. We will follow zero copy clone backup process. By using this backup process without occupying any extra storage, you can create the backup. So that is the reason we will be using this. So we have a separate class on this. We'll be telling you, yes, you can do that.
Okay. And one more question.
Yeah.
Generally, there are different environments: development environment, integration environment, pre-prod, or load testing environment. So here, in case if you want to implement those environments, so is that option available, or how can it be set up?
No, actually, what happens? No, so basically, see, there it is possible, like uh, two way it is possible. First, your URL is same, your account URL is same. Okay, and inside the same account you have three database. Okay, one is, let's say, development database, another one is, let's say, QA database, another one is, let's say, prod or whatever it is, load testing database or whatever it is. So different type of databases are available. That is one way to implement that one. Another one is URL is different. One URL for dev, another URL for QA, another URL for prod, like that.
Okay, thank you.
So both is possible. Some project I have worked where basically URL is same, that account URL is same, just different databases are there. One is dev database, one is QA, one is used for prod, like that. Now inside the database, they have schema specific details and all. Okay. And another options are there. You have the three different URL. One URL is dev, another one is QA, another one is pre-prod, prod, whatever environments you have, so that you can implement it. So that is how it works.
Okay.
Now let's say I will be first, I am creating one transient database. Okay, what I was doing is like I deleted. Yeah, right. So let's say I'm creating one database called development, and that database I'm creating as a transient. Okay, so create or replace transient database name. Transient is nothing but it's the type of database. So we have to mention that keyword. Remember one thing, for creating temporary object or for creating transient object, we have to basically write down that particular keyword here. For permanent object, we don't need to write any specific keyword here. Okay. For permanent object, if you don't write anything, by default, that will be created permanent object. So that is how it works. Okay. So let's say create or replace transient database name. So I have written here, and let me execute. So for executing, you can select it and you can click on this button. Okay. Or you can write control enter. Hold control, press enter. So this is a shortcut. So here I did control enter. Whenever I created this database, you can see here in this database and the schema got selected. This development database automatically selected here. This is the window, or this is the drop down where you have to select your database, on which database you are working. So let's say you want to work in the test share database. So you have to come here, you have to select the test share database. Now in which schema you want to work, that you have to select, and then you have to start working. Let's say right now development database I created, so that has been selected. Okay, so remember one thing, whenever I will create a database, Snowflake automatically will be creating two schema inside it. Inside the database, Snowflake automatically creates two schema. One is information schema, another one is public schema. Information schema is something which is read-only schema. You cannot do any modification here. It is a completely read-only schema. Okay. And what it contains lot of views. And these are all metadata views. How many columns are there, what are all the tables are there, what are all the privileges are there, what are all the functions, package, pipe, procedures are there, what is the load on the current warehouse. So all those information, all those metadata informations will be available in the information schema. Every database will have this information schema. Every database will have this information schema. Okay. We will be using lot of views, lot of functions we will be using from the information schema in coming days. As of now, just understand information schema is the read-only schema, which will be used to provide some metadata information via views or functions. Okay. So that is what the information schema, and this information schema will contain information only about this database. Okay. So that you have to remember. Another one is public schema. This is for our utilization. You can drop this schema also. If you don't want, you can drop it or you can keep it. Or you can create a new schema also here. So Snowflake will be giving you one schema for called public, and that will be auto assigned. And you can create all the objects inside this public schema. If you want to create a table, if you want to create a view, all those things you can create inside the public schema. Okay, so that is what it created. Now, for an example, this development database I created as a transient, but I created, so you are seeing this is a transient database, you can tell. But let's say if I ask somebody else, tell me what type of database it is. How will you answer? So we will be writing here show databases command. Show command is in Snowflake is the generic command. If you want to know about any object, you can write with show. Let's say you want to know about database, you can write show databases. Let's say you want to know about the schema, you can write show schemas. You want to know about the table, you can write show tables, like that. So if I execute show databases, all the database, whatever is here, will be listed down. Now here you will be able to understand who created it, what is the comment, origin, each and everything we will be able to understand when it got created, right? Now let's say I don't want to know about all the database. I want to know only about the data development database. So I'll write here like development and let's execute. So you can see this is the development database. If you take your cursor on the right side, there is the options field, and that options field value is transient. So you can simply understand, okay, this database is the transient database. Now I told you inside the transient database, I cannot create a permanent schema, but I am trying to create a permanent schema inside this transient database. If I create this schema, that schema will be created inside this database, whatever database you selected here. Now you can see I did not mention here transient keyword means, that means it is the permanent schema, because I told you if you want to create a permanent object, you don't need to write any permanent keyword. Just you have to write nothing. So by default, it will be created the permanent object only. So that means inside a transient database, I am trying to create a permanent schema. I told you this is not possible, but it did not throw any error. Even if you refresh here, it has created here, right? Raw schema inside the development database. Then how it is possible? To understand, we will execute show schemas. Okay. Now you can see this is information schema, public schema, raw schema. This is the three schema. Show schemas will be listed down all the schema which is available inside this database. So here three schemas are there. All the three schemas have been listed down. Now if you see, this is the raw schema. If you take your cursor on the right side, you can see transient. I did not mention here transient keyword, but still it has created with the transient. Why? Because the database is transient. That's the reason I told you inside the development, inside the transient database, you can't create the permanent schema. If you try, you will be failing, or you will be ending up creating with the transient type of schema only. Similarly, inside the schema, inside this database, inside this schema, if you try to create a table, let's say I'm trying to create a table here also, I did not mention anything. The table also will be created. If I execute show tables, the table also will be created with the kind value of transient. Okay, I never mentioned the transient type, but it has created the type transient. Similarly, let's say I'm going to create one database of permanent type. So create or replace database name. This is the development underscore PERM. This is the permanent database. I did not mention anything, so it is a permanent database. If you see, whenever I created this database, it is automatically selected here. If I refresh, you can see this is the permanent database created, and here also information schema, public schema created. How will you understand this database is the permanent database? If you take your cursor here and if you write show databases like development underscore PERM, if you execute, you can see this database. If you take this database, if you take your cursor on the right side, your options field is coming as a blank. If you are writing show databases or if you are writing show schemas and your option field value is coming blank, you have to understand that particular database or that particular schema is type of permanent. If it is coming written as a transient, that means definitely they are of type of transient. But if it is a blank, means they are permanent. So your database is permanent. Now I told you inside the permanent database, you can create all type of schemas. So that is what I will do. So you can see I'm going to create two type of schema. One is, this is the permanent schema, schema underscore P. This is the transient schema, schema underscore TR. Let me create the two type of schema here. It is created. If I refresh, you can see schema underscore P, schema underscore TR, both created. If you write the show schemas, you can see the schema underscore P. You can see this is the schema underscore P, this is the schema underscore TR. Schema underscore TR is transient schema, but remaining will be blank. They are permanent schema. Okay. Now, if any table I create, I can create all type of tables inside the permanent schema. But inside the transient schema, I can create only the type of transient and temporary, not the permanent one. But I want to create all the three type of tables. So which schema I will select here? I will select permanent schema. So let me refresh the account. It is not reflecting here. Just a minute. Now you can see I will be selecting the permanent schema. This is the database from this drop down. This is the database selected, but automatically the transient schema selected. I will select the permanent one. Why? Because permanent schema will be allowing us to create the permanent table. So I created the permanent schema. I selected the permanent schema. Now I will be creating all the three type of table. So let me show you. First of all, I will create the temporary table. If you want to create the temporary table, you have to write the temporary keyword. And if you want to insert the data into the table, so you will be inserting. So let me execute. Now, next I will be creating the transient table. To create the transient table, we have to write the transient keyword. So I created the employees underscore transient table here. Okay, and I'm inserting some data into the table. Next, permanent table. If you want to create the permanent table and if you are writing the permanent keyword, you will be getting error. That's the reason we will not write anything here. Just create or replace table will be created a permanent table. So if you execute, you can see all the three type of tables got created. Now, if you check your development underscore PERM database, if you check your schema underscore P, now you can see permanent table. Employees underscore permanent is nothing but our permanent table. This is the temporary table. This is the transient table. If you write here show tables, all the tables will be listed down here. You can see this is the permanent table. This is the transient table. Employees underscore transient is the name of the table. Kind value is transient. This is the temporary table. Kind value is temporary. But this is the permanent table. Kind value will not be permanent. It will be table. If you are getting the kind value as a table, means that is a permanent table. Okay. Now I told you the transient table is only exist in the current session. Session in the sense, this is one session, this is one session. If I open a new worksheet here, that is another session. So for an example, in this session, I created the temporary table, so it will be exist in this session only. If I go to this session, if I open the development underscore PRM database, if I open this schema, here you can see only two tables, permanent table and transient table. Your temporary table is not there. Why temporary table is not there? Because temporary table is the session based table. It is exist in this session only. It will not be exist in any other session of this database. If I close this session, this table is automatically dropped. Okay. If I close log off this account, this table will be automatically dropped. Okay. It's a session based table. It's auto dropped. Where permanent and transient table are not auto dropped. It is user, when it will be dropped whenever user will be dropping. Okay. So that is the difference between these three type of object. Clear? Any doubt? Any question?
No.
Okay. Fine. So that's all for today's session. So we will be joining again on tomorrow at 8:30, and we'll be continuing. So this is the lessons we covered. I will be sharing the recording as well as this script, so you guys can practice. First, you open the account, you practice these sessions, and you download the basically what I can say, the recordings. You have to download because I have multiple batches. So I'll be sharing this recording. So it is gonna be your batch gonna be my 88 number 88 batch. So you guys have to download this batch. Sorry, download this recording, and it will be keeping with you for lifelong. Okay, so you don't need to worry about that.